Hey, Prosperity Collabs. Welcome back for another great conversation. Today we got Beth Good in with us. Beth is a phenomenal agent here in Southern California who came to my attention from one of the lenders you work with. He said, John Mazzadri said, you've got to talk to Beth. She's phenomenal. And so Beth has an incredible niche in land and ranch. So I'm excited to get into that. So Beth, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, love Jonathan.
Yeah.
He's always been such a blessing, so helpful, and such a wealth of information.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. So John Mazzadri, if you're not familiar with him as a lender, he's one of those guys that it really does not matter what it is you need help with. He's going to help you.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, whether that is calling an air conditioning guy for you or showing up with his truck. I mean, he's just, that's who he is.
Or telling you how your property could go VA.
Well, and having a good lender who knows now is huge.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So Beth, why don't you sort of set the stage for us? It's always that first question of what do I need to know about you? As the people listening today, what do they need to know about Beth Good and what your business is?
I got started in 2008, and basically I sell ranch property. That's what I do. And I say I got started in 2008. I suppose that's when I got my license, but I probably didn't really get rolling until the following year. Nevertheless, the way I got into real estate is that God actually used my mom to bring me into real estate. And so there's a story that goes there with that, but we'll leave that one aside for now. And but she encouraged me. I just had my daughter Grace, who's she'll be 18, and she just got her license too, by the way.
Okay.
But anyhow, I had just had her, and my mom was like, why don't you get into real estate and, put the horses on the side for a little while, And so, in other words, get a real job. And so I did that. I followed her lead. And what's cool is that in real estate, they teach you about personal development, and I had never been exposed to any of that. And but I noticed that those guys, a lot of them, some of my favorites were like Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn. Love Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
But they would always say things like, and even in the Bible it says, So one day I had my Google question, what does the Bible and personal development have to get at each other?
Yeah.
Anyway, then I found myself back in God's house. So that was awesome.
Very cool.
So, anyway, so he used my mom to get me into real estate, and that's how that started.
Was your mom a real estate agent?
No, she wasn't, but she would have been fabulous.
Okay.
She actually sold insurance, and she was great at that, and mother of 7 children. And she was, my mom, just absolutely amazing woman, just bravest woman I ever knew, and just amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got in at 2008. Now, for those of people who haven't been in the industry for a while, 2008 was not what we would call an up year.
Yeah. So, hey, I'm all good with the school of adversity. That's how I learned.
Yeah.
So that was all good. And it didn't really matter to me so much. I never thought about it in that way. I just knew that if I got into selling real estate, that I was going to sell ranch property, because I figured if I could run the joint, I could sell it, And so, so that's what I did. And that was the attitude I had about it, just kind of doing what you know. And so that's why I was comfortable, because I'd never lived in an HOA.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you about that.
So back up a step. So before you were selling real estate, you had a daughter, right?
Yep.
And what was it that you were doing? You kind of alluded to it, but what was life before real estate?
So prior to real estate, I mostly had horses as my primary job. When I lived in Georgia, I lived there for 13 years, and I helped to run a barn there where we taught a lot of lessons. I took on the role as a barn manager for a while there. And so we did a lot of that, right? So horses had always been in my life since a child, and then I sort of made a career, a go of it, if you will. And so anyway, it was good. And
Okay, so you were deep into that industry.
Yeah.
You're managing barns and taking care of horses. 18, or probably you have a daughter.
Yep.
And your mom says, hey, you should get in real estate. Was that Georgia or was that California?
No, actually, that was in Utah.
That was Utah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was in Utah. Yes.
Okay. So is that where you started practicing or did you?
No, not well, that's where I enrolled in my courses.
Okay.
So when I was living in Utah, that evening, my mom said, you should get into real estate. I told her I'll be back home in 3 months.
Okay.
And that I would follow her suggestion. And so I signed up for my classes and I started them there.
Okay.
But I was living in Utah and I actually wasn't working with horses full time there. I actually had a different job, but I was riding full time for sure with some folks. But
okay.
no.
So you moved back to California to start your real estate career. Was it here in the Temecula Valley or whereabouts?
Yeah. So when I came back to Temecula, yes, my mom was already living in Temecula. Most of my siblings live in the area here. And so I actually stayed with my sister Barbie for a while, and who also does horses.
Okay.
And anyway, I stayed with her for a while, and then I got rolling. And then I actually, so it's just funny. The whole thing is so good. So anyway, my brother John had actually given me a bread and butter job, as my mom would call it. And so because I have some nerd-like qualities, I'm fairly tech savvy and had also built websites on the side too, because, you got to have multiple means of income when you're doing horses.
Nothing goes together like horses and websites.
Yeah, well, there you go, right? So anyway, so I did, I helped John, my brother, with his website and learned more about brakes than I ever wanted to know. It's an automotive website. But anyhow, so I did that until I kind of got a few deals landed. And then that was that.
I think it's always interesting, to find out where people came from in this, because you were living out of state. Obviously, family's from here, so I imagine you grew up in this area.
Yes.
But you got to come in now into a totally different industry and establish credibility.
Yeah.
And that can be kind of scary.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because I actually left Southern California quite a while before that. I had lived in Georgia for 13 years and was only in Utah for a couple years. So, and I grew up in Orange County.
Okay.
So, and it was, during, I want to say mid to late 80s that my folks moved to Temecula. So I didn't really know anybody in the horse business out here, but anyway, it doesn't totally matter. Maybe one or two people, because my sister was out here.
Well, a lot of people have a hard time making that jump, and they would come into a situation like you did, where you got your license, you moved in from out of state, you have this background in horses, and then they get here, and all of those things were the reasons why they couldn't succeed. Right? Like I couldn't because I didn't know anybody, or I'm just a horse person. No one take me seriously. Or, it's a list of reasons why they couldn't succeed. Seems like you took those things and made them reasons you would succeed.
Yeah, probably because I didn't know any better, right? So
sure.
I just kind of, like I said, I figured if I could run a joint, I could sell it, and I definitely had a big why to needing to do that. I was a single mom at the time too. And so, but the thing is too, is having this internet background and understanding how the internet's like a crock pot when it comes to SEO and all of those sort of things, right? And so I built a great website and I did the social media stuff and also burnt myself out on it a few years back. But anyway, I just put it out there.
Yeah.
Very loudly, that I was in business, if you will.
Right.
And that I was your go-to person.
Well,
I hadn't done anything.
Right. Yeah. But again, you came into an industry that was, I don't want to sound like hyperbole, but in flames, right? It was a rough couple of years.
Oh yeah.
A lot of foreclosures.
Yeah.
Pretty much it was all foreclosures.
Yeah, a lot of short sales. Short sales were a big deal.
Yeah.
For sure. And did a number of those in all the foreclosures for sure. And I love seeing the people though who bought those bank-owned properties and that they have all this equity and all of that, because all the loans are solid. that they were writing because of all the, new conditions and guidelines and underwriting and all of that went with all those things in 2008 to stop that madness. And so, yeah, it's great to see those people doing
Totally.
well.
Hey, I bought a home at that point and $400,000 of equity,
Boom.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And took that to another house. We got 50% equity on it. And
Praise
it's
God.
unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
It's great. But so you started going heavy into the website and the SEO.
Right, I did. Yes.
Was that the primary driver of your business, or were you were running that?
Yeah.
Then you were also networking through kind of the equestrian community.
Yeah, a little bit of both. I would say for sure the website was a big one at the beginning because that is where my first few leads came from, and those went very well, for sure. And I'm still friends with those clients today. And horses is the common thread, right? Horses are such a unique gift, and they are the common thread that does that. But anyway,
so even in the beginning, I love this because a lot of real estate agents they're not purposeful when they start. They're sort of like, I'll take whatever I can get, and there's a hustle aspect to that. But it sounds like even then in the beginning, you built a website that would attract people in land and ranch and equestrian.
Yeah, I did. And as a matter of fact, for years, right up until I want to say it was 22 when I had to redesign the site. That's a story that we can get into too. But for years, you would be able to type in the words horse property with any city in California, and my site would be number one. PrimeHorseProperty.com ranked number one on all the platforms. And so praise God for that. That's a good thing. I had a guy that I don't even remember where I met him. And I want to say he probably called me. I don't know. But he was a IT guy, a web designer guy. And I loved his brain. Such a good brain, creative thinker, big box thinker. And so we very much designed landing pages and all of these things and did so many things. And he was great. And he died too young. Sadly, he died. And I want to say that was maybe around 2016 or 17, something like that. And we kept the site going, his family and myself. We kept the site going for a while, but then they had to close up shop.
Sure.
So I had to find a new provider, and that didn't go well because, let's just say they weren't good listeners. How's that?
Right. Yeah. But I love this because, you're very intentional. You come in, you say, I have unique knowledge, right? And then you built your business targeting that unique knowledge. And most, almost all real estate agents come from something.
Sure.
Right? Whether they were hairdressers or teachers or whatever.
Yeah.
They're bringing these unique skills, unique knowledge. And how many people have the foresight to say, no, I'm going all in because that's going to be my road, right? That's what I know.
Yeah.
And you did it. So I imagine you had some pretty good keywords in SEO built into that website.
I did, for sure. For sure. There were some great keywords. And I have to say, I would encourage anybody to do that. As far as if golf is your love, do it. If whatever it is, whether I have a friend who is a gardener, right? And gardening was her thing. And whatever that is, do that. And that is your first group. Those are your people. It's the people you love, the people you want to work with, right?
Yeah.
And do that and build from there. And you can do it 100%.
No, it's totally true. And I think the internet has made it more possible than ever, right? Because you used to have to put out like a bench ad or a newspaper ad or
grocery cart.
Right, grocery cart. And it's very hard to be targeted with those things.
Yeah.
But with a website or social media, I can create a community that really is my people.
Yes, absolutely.
And Seth Godin is an author I love, and he talks about, you're not Coke. You know what I mean? Like Coca-Cola needs to try to sell to everybody.
Right.
But for most of us, if I just find 1,000 people who are my rabid fans, I will be better off than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
Right? But to have the courage to say, I'm going to serve these people, right?
Yeah.
And also the courage to say, this might not be for you, right?
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do, but you were very specific. You jumped in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I did both feet all in 100%.
Now on the website, were you doing blog posts? Were you doing any just static?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a blog. So Active Rain, I was a rainmaker back in the day. Like yes. So that was a while ago. But yeah, doing all of those things, writing blog posts, and then the social media, made sure I had just dumb things like the same username across the board at all the different platforms. And gosh, there used to be ways you were able to spin threads. I think it was for Twitter. I don't remember which. I actually got blocked from there at some point. I don't even know why. Yeah. But anyway, that's all good. But yeah, I used to be able to spin threads so that you could set your posts out in advance, but it was all done like in a .csv file or whatever I don't even remember the provider back then. But anyway, and of course now they have lots of things that are doing that, like Hootsuite and all of those guys.
Yeah.
There's so much available to people, and so many people are so good at it.
Right.
There's a lot of people who are really good at it.
And I think there's a lot of people who could be better.
Yeah.
100%.
Here I am, right here. I could be better.
But I mean, there's really something here, because I think, what you did was you said, this is who I am. This is my brand. Wherever you go, you're going to encounter the same brand, the same person.
Yeah.
And then you started creating content specifically for those people. It sounds like you were an influencer before there were influencers.
Yeah, maybe, because I did have some high rankings. And what's funny too is it's so funny because, like I had mentioned, I kind of got burnt out on the whole thing. I found myself literally, as I describe it, hatching emails, hatching leads, waiting for the communication and messages to come in and responding right then and there, not having a life, right? So I backed off on it all and took a break and whatnot, and have been slow to get back into the saddle, if you will. And I had to laugh because, I don't know, it was maybe last year, 2 years ago. I'm like, there's a whole new generation of people that are buying houses now. So need to get with the program. I still haven't fully re-engaged, but it's true. So, I mean, if I were to go back, say 10 years ago, well, there's probably kids who are just 21 who are now looking, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember my mom followed her. I don't know how it goes, but you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, over the next
whole new generation,
couple years, we're going to have such a massive, wealth transfer, right? Because the average homeowner now with equity is 55?
Yeah.
And you have this massive generation in the millennials who are still largely unhoused. And then what I'm seeing with Gen Z and the next group up is while the millennials were waiting to start life, it seems like the younger ones are jumping in, and they're just getting going, And I talked to my 20-year-old, and he's got friends who are engaged, right?
Yeah, I love it.
It's a totally different generation.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. It's okay. I need to start speaking to the next group that's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and the message it's the same message, but you have to convey it. You have to get it out there, and you have to, be doing those things. Yeah. And so, and it's all good. I mean, business has not lacked by any means. Not that I'm number one, but you know what? It's more about just finding that place in life where you're good, like I don't want to be the agent who does 100 deals a month with a team, or I don't know what the numbers are, but usually they're fairly large.
Yeah.
I have no desire for that. I just don't,
Well, again, but it comes back to, again, why do people get the real estate license? Because they want to have a life by design.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
And what you have done is you have designed this at every step. You said, all right, I'm getting started. I got to hustle. I got to do these things. I want these people. And then whether it was on purpose or an accident, you did, right?
And it's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to anybody listening, what is it that makes you unique? What's the thing that you're excited about, you're passionate about? You said, is it gardening?
Yeah.
And do you have the courage to speak to those people and really to form that community? Because if you do, it can be very sustaining, like you said, and you can take it however you want to. But I think you're right. There's a trap in this industry that feels like I always got to be doing something else.
Yeah.
Right. And,
Yeah.
ugh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking for the next big thing. You are the big thing.
Yeah.
Right. You are uniquely created, right? You're uniquely created by God. And you have gifts and talents. And if you are a gardener or if you are, a golfer, whatever, those people, speak to them. They're speaking your language, right? Like,
Yeah.
don't ask me to water the plants because,
I think about it in that, like, if you're, and I'm a Christian, right? It sounds like you are too.
Yeah.
If you're created in the image and likeness of God, right? Then you are, and you're unique, right? There's never been another one.
That's right. Yeah.
Then you are an expression or a revelation of God that we will never see again.
That's right.
And so you have an obligation to live that out to its fullest, right?
Yeah.
Not
Not so good.
try to be somebody else, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And I mean, it's interesting to talk about business, but
Yeah.
Who you are matters.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
be who you're created to be, no matter what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for doing what you love, for sure.
Absolutely.
Knocking things around, wrecking the
Boat
joint.
hits the ground, I know. So, all right. Well, we have this niche in land and ranch. And, in Southern California, you might say, well, geez, I don't know. I think you should have a niche in track homes, right? Because they're everywhere.
Well, hey, we do that too
Yeah,
on
I mean,
occasion.
well,
It's
I think
hilarious, actually.
I think that's a good point,
Yeah.
right? Because just because you say, I do this, doesn't mean you're sending people away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the most powerful thing about defining your business is you're going to create gravity.
Yeah.
Other things are going to get sucked into it. But you chose to go this road. What is it about? Because if I had a property in La Cresta,
Mhm.
Big horse property there, and someone came in, and most agents would say, oh, I'll take it. But if you come to me and you said, oh, I've got a, 15-acre ranch, it's got, barn for 20 horses or whatever, I would say, I am not your guy. Because there's a level of complexity there that I just don't know what I don't know. Right? So what is it about land and ranch? I mean, what is it that you're bringing in value to your clients that, like, if they came to me, they would be making a mistake because I don't have the background. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And it's not that it's necessarily overly complicated. I mean, it can be because ranches tend to grow on their own, just out of need and necessity. And where I'm going with that is, well, buildings. Okay. So like storage things, like, are they permitted? I don't know. We'll look at that. Okay. So there's that side of it. Sure. And maybe well and septic and whatever. But I think probably the bigger thing is just understanding the disciplines and what they need and what it is they're looking for.
Okay, so you already lost me. What is it? The disciplines?
So the disciplines, so what type of horses are they keeping?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So because the people who are riding, and I'll simplify it just through English and Western, they're going to have very different needs. Okay.
Right.
An English rider, let's say, for example, they're okay with the PVC fencing. And some Western riders will be too, like a Western pleasure rider. They don't care, But if you got somebody who's keeping cattle, well, the vinyl fencing isn't going to be their friend. Yeah, they'll be chasing cows all day.
Right.
So there's that. And then all sorts of little things can come, and it depends on the farm because they can get more complex because they can also border the commercial side of things too. So it could be everything from footing and the watering for the arena and that kind of thing. And whereas you might also have somebody who's like, man, I just want to have direct access to trails, and like have a round pen where I can get their brain before I go out. I mean, that's all good. We could do that, So you just need to find out a bit about your buyer, just like any other transaction. Get to know them. And for us, we do ranch property, I would say, getting to know what kind of horses they're keeping, how many head, and all of that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's something, I run 2 large real estate brokerages, right? And I have agents who come to me and they go, oh, I want to do commercial. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do that. And I constantly am trying to remind people, like, the cardiologist gets paid more, right? The general practitioner doesn't get paid as much as the cardiologist. So if you want to do everything, you're never going to be the cardiologist.
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've made this definite, like, I'm a cardiologist. I know these things. You walk into that ranch property and you're thinking about stuff and I'm going, pretty horses.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
totally
Well,
different thing.
yeah, no, there is a lot more that you're thinking about. And you are specific. I know I am specific. I'm speaking for the others who also do ranch property that are out there too. But definitely, yeah, you're going through scenarios. Is this going to work for the client? And what are some of the things that we're going to watch out for, and all of that. Um, and yeah, you go down a lot of roads, in your head. So you're definitely looking, and even walking appraisers through these sorts of things. They'll walk by an arena. Oh, yeah, nice dirt. They don't understand that, this has fully been lasered, or could even have an underground watering system for all they know, or the type of footing that's in there. Like, there's value in those things, and or maybe it's even an appraiser who dismisses the 3-stall barn. That was a thing once. And it's like, actually, I have to make an objection on that, because this client wouldn't even be looking at that property if that 3-stall barn wasn't there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you talk about the underground watering system. I mean, that's big money.
Yeah.
I have some friends with a ranch up in La Cresta, and it got the whole thing. And he was walking me through it. It just blew my mind.
Yeah.
What kind of value or money that is.
Yeah. It's
to set that up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I love what you're saying, because the appraiser, he
doesn't know.
Yeah.
And and I love the appraisers. I do. I mean, and everybody's got their job. I actually love working with most everybody, but yeah, I mean, I try and be as helpful as I can as far as giving them the reports that they need, and maybe kind of letting them know what it is they're looking at, without, like, I don't need to get in the middle of their math, because they're doing appraiser math. That's not my math.
No, absolutely.
It's a different animal. Absolutely. But anyway, it's all good. And I've learned so much from them too over the years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's another important takeaway, though, is if there's something that is value in property, whether it's a ranch property or not, don't be afraid to point it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Even if it's on the side of the hill, like, that's a valid thing too. They're bringing in comps that, like, say it's another 20 acres, but it's up in Duluth, and it's like, better suited for goats. Well, the site utility is not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, avocado farm is not the same thing as a horse ranch.
Well, no, it's not. And even if, whether or not there's avocados, maybe they only have horses in one tiny spot, but
but the rest of it's just his. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. So, Beth, how are you finding clients now? I mean, you did it, you built the website, you had that thing, but who are the people that are seeking you out now?
Yeah, so really, it really is all about relationships, and that's how it's been. And again, like I said, horses are the common thread, right? And referrals from people who know me, or people who have worked with me, and that sort of thing, as who I'm working with. So,
who's a ranch buyer? Like, what's like, if I had, like, I was going to create a like a file, who are the people that are buying these kind of properties?
Yeah, so there's going to be a variety of people. I sum it up in I was just going to kind of make a little bit of a funny in that I sort of sum it up. You got your young buyers who are all gung-ho to, get the ranch property and do their thing.
Yeah.
Then you got sellers who's like, I could care less if I ever see another 4-legged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we're working with young people, and sometimes we're working with older people, depending on what they're at. But I would say most of the time, these people, they typically love the rural lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. Which we're very big on in the Temecula equestrian community. Go to that too. But and then a lot of them are also those who are competitive. So most of the time for the bigger properties, a lot of those people would be oftentimes the owner of horses, and they'll have their trainer come to the property or something like that, right? And that would be for, like I said, some of the larger properties, many barns and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Although you never know who's going to buy what. Yeah. But yeah, I would say something like that, or just, the young family who's running barrels and the husband's, roping, and they're going to rodeos and they're raising their family, and they're looking for a little place where they can have practices at home and, do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or it's the trail rider.
So we had so much movement, I think, during COVID, but people were looking for land, right? I imagine you had a little boom there.
Yeah.
What's the reality been since then? Have you seen people who got there and they thought...
Well, I'm going to back up from there even a little bit too. So I find it fairly amusing because once upon a time, I would have told sellers, you know what, you can pretty much expect 6-month days on market on average, because that's sort of the rule of thumb back in the day, once upon a time. I mean, it was a longer days on market. So you're welcome, and let's get started, right?
Yeah, particularly for these kind of properties.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Because it's a smaller pool of buyers. So, but I will say that when people got this idea of homesteading and they wanted to, maybe get their own eggs or make their own soap or whatever, and you live in an HOA and you've got chickens at home. Okay. And so they're looking for property now. So it's interesting. That happened a little bit before COVID, actually.
Yeah.
And so the days on market I saw go down a little bit as that became more popular. And I did feel bad one time when I was telling this to a seller, like, now we'll have a little bit shorter days. Well, it turned out she made soap. So I was like, oops. It was all good though, because I got some lovely soap afterwards. But anyway, and then during COVID, for sure, and how blessed we were to be on acreage. Oh my gosh. Oh,
yeah. Have you seen the people moving out now? Right, they got in during COVID. They had stars in their eyes. They were going to homestead, and then they got that ranch property, and they realized the reality of...
I would say not so much.
Okay.
I would say not so much. There might be, I'm sure there's some people who are like, oh man, what did I get into? But I haven't come across that so much. Yeah. And I do like to kind of warn people now too.
Oh, yeah.
Just like this is a real thing, especially like when they're moving far out, if they want something affordable. So, well, now you're out in Anda or you're out in Awanga or whatever, and you've got a couple miles of dirt road and who knows what. And all your friends want to come trail riding with you. That only lasts for so long.
Yeah.
So everything goes up, especially fuel.
No, Costco's a big trip.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
You're just not going to run out to the store when you want to get something.
No.
You're planning for it. Yeah. I had a property in Meadowview.
Okay.
And I was marketing it like luxury, right? Because they'd really done a nice job of it.
Sure.
And what I noticed was people were coming because of the chicken coop, right? And so I started marketing it as homestead in the heart of Temecula, and all the social media hits just went up, right? Because it really is there's a younger generation that is trying to sort of slow down.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So,
that's cool.
So those are the people you're looking at. And then what are you doing that is, I guess, making you stand out? That the reason people call you back. Does that make sense? You run a very consistent business, and like you mentioned, there's referrals, a lot of it right now.
Yeah.
So what are the touches? What are the things that you do that people just, Beth Good stays in their mind? They're like, oh, she was amazing. What's your approach to that?
It's always a hard one to sound,
Sure.
But anyway, I would say, just based on, I suppose what I hear from people is that you did a good job and you walked them through what might have seemed like a complicated deal or whatever. The fact that I do look down the road and around the corner to see what might be coming, and so that I like to set expectations for both buyers and sellers and anybody. And conversations go such a long way, right? With everybody, and especially between agents. I think that's important. Conversations are just important. And, just being forthright, and calling it like it is. And let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the bad and the ugly.
Yeah.
We need to look at all of it.
But I think that's important to remember because, again, it's sort of, we've got a theme here, right? Where you went out to do real estate this way.
Yeah.
Using the knowledge, the skills, what you had, you were very specific, and that you have to have a confidence and a courageousness, right? And in order to have a candid conversation with the seller or a buyer, that could potentially kill the deal.
Yeah.
And again, that's our duty, right?
Right.
But you have to have an abundant mindset. This can't be the only deal, right? You have the courage that there's I'll go find another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Thankfully it's not mine anyway, right? So I am here to help so that it can become yours or whatever the exchange is. So and I don't even know that I worded that right, but bottom line is again just diving in 100%, and I think this is also helpful too, and I know people will seek me out for some of this too. I know my way around the county, let's say, as far as knowing what department has what and where to find the things that we need, especially on the buyer's side as we investigate properties, and even setting expectations for sellers. Because like I said, ranches kind of roll out of necessity, especially the bigger ones. So so we go down the road and we see what we have and we look at all those things. But yeah, I've had some fun deals where I was able to actually really help people out and just see them walk right into equity, which was so awesome.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, all right, I love this part of the conversation because it's sort of a looking forward, right?
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that your daughter is 18.
Yeah.
She just got her license.
Did.
So what are we working on here, Beth? What's
Yeah.
the next step for Beth Good?
Great question.
Yeah.
No, basically bringing her along. So, bringing Grace along and so she's mostly shadowing at this point, and not that she hasn't since she was
Yeah.
a wee lass.
Yeah, real estate kids do grow up a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah. Where's the septic on this one, mommy? But she'll be she'll be a tough one too in some ways, just because, I've seen her negotiate, let's just say. So she'll be great. But anyhow, no, just getting forward with her and doing that and just, keep rolling along. And quite honestly, like, I love seeing God work through my files. Like, it's amazing when you can see his fingerprints, and I see it all the time. And so yeah, just doing the best that I can in that way.
Yeah. So it's continuing to grow yours and then helping her chart her course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is bringing a young person into adulthood.
Yeah.
I have a 20-year-old right now. And I've got a big family too. We go from 20 to 7, right? So we're all ever in between. But it's one of those things where you have to let them walk,
Yep.
but you also want to strangle them. And there are just those moments, right, where you go and you gotta remember, oh yeah, I was an idiot too.
Yeah. Oh,
It's true,
yeah.
Yeah. So but she's licensed, she's working, she's shadowing.
Yeah, she's shadowing right now, and she literally just got started. So she only got her license just like, I don't know, maybe not even 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's just shadowing me at this point. And yeah, we're just going down the road. And and got some good properties to work with that have those challenging obstacles maybe, and maybe they're not obstacles, they're also opportunities. So we could say that. And so she gets to see some of that. And so she's also learning the ins and outs and what departments and that sort of thing and things to look for and all of that. So
Wow, 18 learning how to deal with county bureaucracy is that's something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you just want to get the information you need.
Absolutely. Who do I have to ask?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because again, young people, a lot of times I found with younger generation is I will say, go call this person. And there you go. Okay. And they go research online. Like, no, go call this person. Or they go look, if you just call this person, so she's getting that. It's really an advantage.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I'm excited to, I'll start bringing her in as like a co-listing agent at some point. And then she'll be getting calls too from agents. I've not been one to cold call or door knock or any of that, so she won't be getting that kind of training.
Sure.
But she will be having to build relationships for sure, which I would say she's actually done a good job at that. She has some great friend groups. Yeah. And she's involved at the church and that sort of thing. There's a lot of great skills that the youth can really capture, or anybody for that. For that, just, when you start serving, there's a lot of opportunity within the walls in the body of the church.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is super great. So, yeah.
Well, it's cool. So long term, she's still pretty young. She may end up being the successor. She may just figure it out. We don't know.
Yeah.
But just kind of giving her the opportunity to chart her course on the best footing.
Yeah. We'll see where she goes with it. So, she's always surprising me. Did things.
So very cool. Well, we are coming into about our landing point here today, Beth. So we got a lot of listeners at various points. Some people are just beginning.
Sure.
Some people are sort of that mid-level agent. And then there are some of the top agents who we brought in and we have a relationship with the podcast. If you were going to say anything to a real estate agent at this moment, we're in December of 2025, what would you say? What's the encouragement? What's the advice? What's the most important thing someone needs to hear?
I would definitely say keep having good conversation with your sellers, with your buyers, and with the other agents, and with people in your life. Lord knows a backlog of conversation doesn't do anybody any good. But have the conversations, the tough ones, for sure. It just goes such a long way. Be clear.
Yeah.
I
love that.
Be clear.
I talk to real estate agents who I say, well, just call people in your life. And like, oh, it'll be weird. You're right. The first time.
What's amazing is they like you.
Yes, I know. Exactly. Well, we haven't talked in a long time. It'll be weird. Hey, guess what? They didn't call you either.
And they're going to be so excited. Yes. And that's true. I had to learn that one myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Especially coming out of that car deal. I didn't want to talk to anybody on the phone.
Yeah.
No, I didn't even want to hear it ring.
Right. But but if I just get over myself.
100%.
And I give myself permission to be the kind of friend I admire.
Yeah.
Then it just changes everything. Now I'm not lead generating. I just have a big community.
Yeah.
And now I think, when people think of real estate agents, and that's what they want.
Yeah.
You want that life that you love.
Yeah, absolutely. And you truly can design it for sure. And only because you made the comment you need to get over yourself. This is a funny one from my husband, which I think is highly amusing. He always says, I might not be much, but I am all I think about. And so it's true. We do need to get over ourselves, all of us, and lay ourselves down and raise the other person up and have the conversation.
Absolutely. Nobody thinks about you as much as you do.
Oh,
and that's
very true.
If you don't believe it, go to the gym and look at who people are looking at. Themselves, right?
100%.
As the only person they're looking at in the mirror is themselves.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
In us.
Well, Beth, thank you so much for coming in. It's been a fun conversation. And there's just a lot to take away here in terms of, I think, the courage to chart your course, to say, I've got my unique background, and that's nothing but a benefit to me if I have the courage to use it that way. And then building a business that's not based on desperation, although in the beginning, we were hungry, right?
Yeah, for sure. I need you to do something.
But operating like a pro from the start. So,
all
right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, hey, guys, check out the link in the descriptions. We'll get some notes on Beth's conversation and things that you can take and apply to your business as well. And until next time, Prosperity Collabs, we will see you guys later.